Billy Joel Channel. His songs, his stories. There were these two Italian guys that owned this recording studio. Wow, they had a piano, they had microphones, and I was really impressed. I wanted to know what everything was. What does that do? What does that do? What does that do?
The Billy Joel Channel, happening now for a limited time. Sirius XM Channel 79 and the Sirius XM app.
With the Sirius XM Platinum VIP plan, you can unlock the ultimate listening experience in up to 2 cars and stream anywhere with 2 app logins. Enjoy our greatest content, opportunities for live VIP experiences, and prioritized customer care. Plus, get access to over 5,000 audio and video concert recordings through nugs.net. Call 844-711-8800 and become a VIP. Offer details apply. Not available in Canada.
The pop. The drop. And the riff. That define a decade. A channel with non-stop pop anthems from the 2010s. The 10 spot, Channel 11, and in the SXM app, included with all trials and popular plans.
To hear this channel, activate your radio now. Call 844-711-8800 or head to SiriusXM.com/go to sign up quickly.
There you go now.
I think I'm recording.
Oh, let's see. Let's see.
If you've been thinking about buying a home, you need to be in the zone, the home buying zone. You need a game plan to win in this great real estate market. The Big C team at Equity Zone Mortgage has all your bases covered. Whether you're a first-time home buyer purchasing your dream home, refinancing, consolidating debt, or even considering a reverse mortgage, contact the Big C team at Equity Zone Mortgage today. They have the lowest closing costs and they'll close your loan on time, guaranteed, or they'll pay your first mortgage payment. And they even have a 3.5% purchase down payment grant that can get you into a home with little money out of your pocket. It doesn't get more clutch than that, folks. Score big on the biggest purchase of your life. Call Equity Zone Mortgage today at 1-800-772-8624. That's 1-800-772-8624. Or apply online at equityzonemortgage.com and tell them Big C sent you, as heard on the Big C Sports Podcast. License number 018.
Rondo de Cortez, Bonjour, Vidi Vidi Vici. Let's get ready to rumble! Welcome to the show. My name is Charlton of Big C Sports. This is Big C Sports coming to you worldwide on the Big C Sports Network, on the #1 network in the United States of America. And Big C Sports has been voted the #1 sports show in the universe, according to me, and people who love the universe. And that includes you. What a beautiful day in the neighborhood. It's only about 1 million degrees in Northern California on a beautiful Monday, July the 8th, 2024. Today's show is sponsored by your Northern California Cadillac dealers, home of the all-new Cadillac Escalade, the standard of the world. When you go by and test drive yours, tell them sit you, where the good Lord split you. And hopefully the good Lord didn't split you too wide. All's fair and level. Where I want to say, I love doing the show after the 4th of July holiday weekend. I feel like it's still 4th of July holiday weekend because the universe is still shooting off fireworks. That's why it's so hot in them there hills in California. I want to say I produce the show. I direct the topics. I broadcast all the shows. I do all the sound effects based on the platform provided by the agency. We could all use more laughter in our lives. I know I could use more laughter. And then the commercials are done. The stats are provided. I even do the storytelling. And then I do the play-by-play. Runners on first and third. They count for the pitch. Curveball. Slug on. Hit deep. Left field. Back to the wall. Home run. Say hello to my little friends. I love saying the girls love the long ball and men love to hit deep. We know the All-Star game is coming up soon. But before the All-Star game, we also have some Olympic competition. Really do appreciate that. A lot of NBA players moving from sea to shining sea, and there's nothing wrong with that. I want to say the show's uploaded to 29 podcast platforms out of New York City and streaming on 4 TV platforms: Xfinity, Comcast TV, Apple TV, Roku TV, and Amazon Fire TV. And then I never miss a show since creating Big C Sports. with the crew back in the days at Salem Media. Really do appreciate that. And then what I also say on every Big C Source podcast, I love paying homage to the Veterans Crisis Hotline because they really are committed to helping veterans and their loved ones get help. If you know anybody going through issues, pick up the phone, call 800-273-8255. That's 800-273-8255. Or you can text 838-255. That's 838-255. If you're online, simply go to veteranscrisisline.net. That's veteranscrisisline.net. And when you do, you want to give us some praise because we all need somebody to lean on. And it sure is nice when somebody's leaning back. I want to say at the same time, for everybody that celebrated Independence Day, I hope you got through it safe. And I do know that a lot of people go through moments of gratitude for a great country. And I definitely, with Big C Sports, am one of them. I want to say thank you to Xfinity Comcast TV and Comcast Spotlight Effect TV for presenting Big C Sports to the universe. It's just like in Genesis 1:3, where God says reparations now, reparations forever. I will always champion reparations because I want to do where President Abraham Lincoln started. And I know coming up on the new election, we can do the right thing. And I want to make sure that I do that part with Big C Sports Podcast. I have a guest coming on today that's going to talk about the Olympics and some other things that are going on in our great country. But as you know, backed by popular demand, I have a commercial. It's more like an infomercial. I would say infomercial, Big C. Okay, it's more like an infomercial I've been working on, and they say faith comes by hearing. So hopefully you've heard it enough that you can sing along with me. A guide to protect, preserve, and transfer wealth and Resource Development Consulting, Inc., in conjunction with the law office of Scott Thibodeau and also attorney George Jones. The Missing Link, Long-Term Care Solutions by the Book. Over 3 decades of experience helping veterans and their loved ones get help. When you have veterans and their loved ones, and oftentimes they need help, we do that with the RDC team, and that's something I'm very proud of. I want to also say we help seniors get their benefits, especially at a time like this, where you need to have your benefits. Sometimes people just need a little bit of help crossing that road, if that makes sense to you. Medicare and You, taking care of tomorrow. In California, it's called Medi-Cal. Other places called Medicaid. Your family and spouse can avoid the spend down for nursing home costs. Find out your options. 800-772-8624. 800-772-8624. I promise to you, we specialize to navigate and maximize long-term care benefits, protection of your assets without a spend down. In California, there's no more spend down tests. All paperwork and communication with all government agencies are handled by a staff of entitlement specialists. Ongoing consulting to provide updates as necessary. You got to have updates provided as necessary. We do that with the RDC team. Benefits covering skilled nursing facilities, prescription medications, medical equipment costs, and more. Have you ever known anyone to deal with skilled nursing facilities? Have you ever known anyone to deal with medical prescriptions? Have you ever known anyone to deal with medical equipment costs? Is that Aflac? No, Aflac's the duck. That's gap insurance. They don't protect your assets. With the RDC team, we protect your assets. If you're a business owner and you don't have a trust, you must be out of your bargain mind. That's what Captain Kirk told Spock in Star Trek. If you're a business owner and you don't have a trust, you must be out of your bargain mind. You know, Balkans were green, just like some of those attorneys are green with envy when they say you don't have a trust, yet you have a business. Protection of your assets, including your home, thereby allowing you to leave a legacy for your family, avoiding the nightmare of debt brought by the government's estate recovery program called probate. Can take from 10 to 40% of your assets. If you don't have a trust, they will try to get after it, if that makes sense to you. A one-time recovery, I'm telling you, it's important to have that trust in place so you don't have to go through the probate process. A one-time processing fee versus monthly insurance premiums for the rest of your life. Not only that, I'm not done yet. I want to say it again. Protection. If you're a business owner, you got to have a trust. Protection. Insurance coverage required by law, general liability, workers' compensation, lawyers specializing in living trust, Medicaid or Medi-Cal planning for long-term care, avoid probate, life insurance, veterans benefits, aid and attendance, pre-planning and avoid the look-back period. It protects your fixed assets, your bank account, your checking account, savings account, money market account, certificates of deposit, life insurance with cash values, your fixed index annuities. It all protects your variable assets, real estate, qualified money, IRAs, 401ks, other investments, and avoid capital gains. Let's say you buy a house for $100,000. And then in 1 year, it appreciates to $1 million. You know, some real estate brokers tell you what they got to tell you to get the sale. That's a $900,000 capital gains. You avoid that when you have your property in a trust. If that makes sense to you, California, there's no look-back period. Over 3 decades of experience. Attention, business owners. I said attention, business owners. You got to find out your other options to protect what your insurance does not cover. How do we do that, Big C? You call 800-772-8624, 800-772-8624, and that's my story that I'm taking with it. Now, when most people say they want to have you work with them and they want you to deal with one of their financial consultants, it's important to ask, well, who's already endorsed you? If that makes sense to you. That's a fair question. The RDC team with Big C Sports, we give you our endorsements. We ask you to check and verify what we tell you. Because we have the endorsement of Attorney George Jones, Esquire, the chairman of the California Black Chamber of Commerce. He's also the California Black Chamber of Commerce Foundation. We have Mr. Leon Woods, Resource Development Consulting, works with many of the top lobbyists in California. Also, Miss Cheryl Brown, she's the chair of the California Commission on Aging. That's a great endorsement. Not only that, we have Mr. Ray Dela Cruz, the CEO of Resource Development Consulting. He has the endorsement of the late CalPERS top legal mind, the great late Robert Carlson. Not only that, he has the endorsement of James Gomez, who advised governors and led change in California nursing homes, served in Golden One's board of directors. The California Association of the Health Facilities announced that Jim Gomez, he retired. But before that, he endorsed the RDC team. If that makes sense to you. Association of Health Facilities. California Association of Health Facilities. Not many people have that endorsement, but the RDC team, not only that, we have the endorsement of Charlton Curry, co-chair of the National Black Wall Street Project. I endorse the RDC team, also as a consultant. Not only that, I am the owner of Big C Sports Podcast. I'm a champion in reparations and long-term care. Not only that, I endorse the RDC team. We have Double O. She's the payout committee for the National Black Wall Street Project. She's also consultant for the RDC team. Not only that, she has her own economics awareness talk show called Let's Eat. You can Google it on Access Sacramento. Give that some praise. I say give it all praise, 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 because the mind is a trouble thing to waste. And oftentimes people have their own thoughts about what they do. But that's my story that I'm sticking with it. Give it some praise. I say give it praise, praise, praise. I know we have all the talk in the world about what happens when it comes to reparations. And I want to say that I'm probably the only sports show in the universe that will pay homage to the California Reparations Task Force. I know a mind is a trouble thing to waste. Before I bring on my special guest, I'm going to give praise to the Secretary of the State of California, the inimitable Dr. Shirley Weber. Also, California Governor Gavin Newsom, they mandated a California Reparations Task Force. I'm also going to give praise to Attorney Camila Moore. She's the chair of the California Reparations Task Force. I love giving her praise. I want to give praise to Dr. Amy C. Brown. He's the vice chair of the California Reparations Task Force. He's also been on Big C Sports Podcast many times. I want to also give praise to California Senator Stephen Bradford. He's also the sponsor of Name, Image, and Likeness. You hear a lot of college student athletes getting paid. Well, he's the one that sponsored that bill. He's also part of the California Reparations Task Force. I really do appreciate him. Met him several times in his office. I want to give praise to Council Member Monica Montgomery Stepp. She's brilliant. I love giving her praise. I want to give praise to Assembly Member Reginald Jones Sawyer. He's brilliant. I love giving them praise because these people do a lot of good work for the California Reparations Task Force. And I want to make sure that I pay homage to them on every Big C Sports podcast. If I don't do it, oftentimes it may not happen. And that's why I'm so proud to do that. I want to give praise to Dr. Shell Grills. She's brilliant. I love giving her praise. I want to give praise to Attorney Lisa Holder. She's brilliant. She specializes in diversity, equity, and inclusion. I love giving her praise. I want to give praise to Dr. Javon Scott Lewis, professor at California Berkeley. He's brilliant. I love giving him praise. And I want to give praise to Attorney Donald K. Tamaki. He's brilliant, and I love giving him praise. I say give them all praise. You can give them all praise, praise, praise. That's my story, and I'm sticking with it. I'm gonna come back and let you hear one of the greatest speakers in the history of this country, and his thoughts on reparations, and then I'll bring on my special guest.
Martin Luther King, we had a conversation a couple days ago about handouts and how these right-wing memes, these Republican memes, have infiltrated the Democratic debate. to suggest that, ending welfare as we know it, all those kind of things are somehow, great and noble things, when we're not dealing with the underlying problem, which is that there's no economic opportunity there because of insane trade policies and because of Reaganomics. And Martin Luther King spoke to this. Jim and Shane, this is clip number 4. Martin Luther King spoke to this sometime back in the early 60s. And I thought this was a really interesting quote. Here he is.
The problem. At the very same time that America refused to give the Negro any land, through an act of Congress, our government was giving away millions of acres of land in the West and the Midwest, which meant that it was willing to undergird its white peasants from Europe with an economic floor. But not only did they give the land, they built land-grant colleges with government money to teach them how to farm. Not only that, they provided county agents to further their expertise in farming. Not only that, they provided low interest rates in order that they could mechanize their farms. Not only that, today many of these people are receiving millions of dollars in federal subsidies not to farm, and they are the very people telling the black man that he ought to lift himself by his own bootstraps. And this is what we are faced with. And this is the reality. Now, when we come to Washington, in this campaign, we are coming to get our check.
I'll say give that some praise. Give it praise. That's the inimitable Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. I love playing that speech because reparations is in the headline right now for every politician in this country, especially as we come upon the 2024 presidential election. And with that said, it's a lot like wrestling. When you wrestle someone, you get on the mat and you both have the equal opportunity to win. But with reparations, the reason it's so necessary, we want to honor President Abraham Lincoln, America's 16th president. We want to do that, and it's the talk right now of California. Also, Kathy Hochul, the governor of New York, also has a reparations task force, and they have one in Illinois as well. We know what happens in California. It leads the nation and everything. So I want to make sure that I always pay homage to the work that's been done. It is in front of the California State Legislature and Senate as we are breathing. So I want to say again, that's a breeze. When I come back, I'm going to come back with a gentleman that knows about wrestling and fighting for your rights to win. We all want to win. You're going to win when I come back in just a moment. All right, I'm back from the Big C Pause, also known as the Big C Timeout. You can follow Big C Sports 24 hours a day, 7 days a week on 29 podcast applications all over the universe, and also streaming on 4 TV platforms: Xfinity, Comcast TV, Apple TV, Roku TV, and Amazon Fire TV. So I've talked about the push on Big C Sports to be a vanguard when it comes to sports, and also the talk of reparations the same way President Abraham Lincoln had opined. It never happened for us, but just like in wrestling with the Olympics starting soon, when you get on the mat, there's no one holding one hand behind your back. It's even for both contestants. And that's what we're asking for when it comes to politics. As you know, I talk about reparations in sports. The California State Senate with Senator Stephen Bradford is very staunch when it comes to representing the thoughts for reparations, and I really do appreciate that. I want to take kind of a rear naked choke, if I can, for MMA. They don't do that in wrestling. But I want to bring on a special guest. He was actually one of my very first participants in a TV program that never got aired back in 2018. His name is Wesley, who's now been on 6 continents, visiting 35 countries for wrestling, and also Secretary General for Cape Verde Wrestling Association for Africa 4-year term, President Referee Commission, Vice President Scientific Media Commission, Secretary General Medical Commission. August Wesley also credentials will be as a delegate representative for UWW Africa Wrestling, and that starts very soon with the Olympic Games, selected as a training partner in the Olympic Games in Paris. And then when I think about some of the things that you've done, August, I want to have you back on the program and say thank you, sir. How are things going for you?
Hey, how you doing today? Things are going well.
That's good. That's good. I know your son's also doing some things, making big names for himself when it comes to the world of wrestling and Anthony. But I wanna touch on you right now. Sports is amazing. I'm hearing athletes signing contracts for $40 million a year, $50 million a year. There's talk that Dak Prescott may be the first $60 million a year quarterback with the Dallas Cowboys. And I think the check would not bounce from Jerry Jones. Your thoughts?
Well, first of all, I'm not sure if I agree with Dak earning all that money and how his play has been in the playoffs. But I'm not mad at him for getting the money. He does a great job.
Yes.
He's a true professional. He comes to work every day, never no issues, no drama, keeps his nose clean.
Yes.
He just needs to perform a little bit better.
Yes, and then also, when you think about whatever people can get, they can get. A lot of these owners, they come from homestead money in their background where the United States government gave over 300 million acres of land away free to only white men and white European males. They told black Americans no. So a lot of that money that people have now, they were born into a business enterprise that created business opportunities for mostly white men. There's no black owners of NFL teams. If they can write that check in $60 million, you don't miss it. That tells you how wealthy they are. The Cowboys are worth $6 billion. Also, August, before we get into talk of the Olympics, in NBA basketball, things have changed, especially on the West Coast. Klay Thompson, part of the Splash Brothers, he's now down in Texas playing for the Dallas Mavericks with Luka Doncic and Kyrie Irving. Paul George left the Clippers. He's in Philadelphia. And so he's going to try to do his thing with the great Joel Embiid and Tyrese Maxey. Now, Buddy Hield is now a member of the Golden State Warriors. He started in Sacramento and been, bounced around a couple of places. Chris Paul no longer with Golden State. He's back in Texas with San Antonio. Give me your thought when you hear about the money. And LeBron James, his son, just signed with the LA Lakers. Some people don't like that. I think if Jeannie Buss can get the LA Lakers inherited to her from her father, Jerry Buss, then parents help their children all the time. That's what you should do. I don't see any problem with LeBron James flexing his credibility to help his son get a spot on a team, because you don't play, you got 15 players on a roster. Usually you don't see guys 10 through 15 playing. I think it's great that he can help his son. Your thoughts?
I agree. Also, the move of DeMar DeRozan, he is now going to be a Sacramento King.
Yep.
He went ahead and took some opportunities to go ahead and get there. But on the LeBron James thing, I feel as though he is getting too much criticism because nepotism has never been afforded to people of color, first of all.
Yeah.
So then you just got to think they haven't been in positions, they haven't been in places to where they could flex their muscle, to where they could exercise their power and opportunity. So if LeBron James can go ahead and carve out a way for his son to have an opportunity, what father wouldn't, first of all? Number two, they don't talk about how many other people are sitting there coaching through all the professional leagues. Let's talk about the current San Francisco 49er coach. Do you know his name? Do you know where he's from? His father, Shanahan, coached my beloved Denver Broncos. And so his son, who started out as a coach, next thing you know, he has opportunity. He's a head coach, and now he got his own coaching tree, if you will. So it's just kind of funny when it's right in everybody's face about how those nepotism opportunities have come up in the NBA also. Young Levy, wasn't he a coach? So when you sit there, we could go down the list of so many people that have had opportunities, but yet when LeBron James, a billionaire, a consummate professional, gave back to his community, if he blows his nose, it's front page news. He doesn't do anything wrong, has just an infectious attitude, and has done things the right way, played out each and every one of his contracts. But yet when his son comes up and makes a roster, people got a problem with that. Oh, by the way, let's go back 1 year when his son suffered a heart attack, was flat out. Everyone thought he might pass away and die. He battled back from all of that to have a so-so season in Division I college. Ended up coming out and making a pro team. Believe me, people just don't throw away money. So he rose in the through the scouts, went to the combine camps, worked out for two different teams, Phoenix and LA. Subsequently got picked up by that. But it's just funny to me how when you look at clutch sports, how you look at LeBron James, they get all so much shade thrown their way, but what father wouldn't want to make a way for his son? I can tell you what, I would like to think that I've blazed a little bit of a trail for my son. I would like to think that you were the first one that caught all the shrapnel before your son came through the door.
Yeah.
So just by the process of being a father, you try to open up. You want your shoulders to be the basement so that their ceiling can be higher. It's just in everybody's face, so they got a problem with it.
It's very true. And also talking about the legacy of how people can hand down opportunities, they bequeath it to that next generation. Back in NFL football, the late Al Davis on the Raiders, when he passed away, he gave it to his son, Mark Davis, who moved the Raiders down to Las Vegas. They played the Vikings, I think, in August for their first preseason game. Even the 49ers, you talked about them earlier with Kyle Shanahan, his father Mike Shanahan being the coach of the Denver Broncos. Well, it was Ed DeBartolo, when he got in trouble with the NFL, his son-in-law, Ted York, was able to take over the ownership of the 49ers. He didn't get it because he was a former player. He got it, if you want to call it nepotism, and there's nothing wrong with that if people can take advantage of it. I just want to see more African Americans have that opportunity so they can do the same thing. I want to do the same thing with my son and my daughter, and I'm sure you're doing the same thing with your son and daughter. We're talking to the great August Wesley, and he's going to talk more about the Olympics and his positions, his various positions as President, Referee Commission, Vice President, Scientific Media Commission, also Secretary General, Cape Verde Wrestling Association. You've been on 6 continents and 35 countries wrestling. But talking about bequeathing things to your father, or from your father to the son or to the daughter, talk a little bit about your son Anthony. I believe in March, 4th African Championships, Alexandria, Egypt. March 7th Olympic qualification in Egypt. In May, the World Olympic qualifier, Istanbul, Turkey. And then May had a gold medal, Portugal Cup, Lisbon. Talk more about your son and how you've been able to assist him. It's up to him to do it, but you didn't close the door in front of him. The same way when mainstream opens doors for their children, as African Americans, we want to do the same thing for ours. Talk a little bit about your son, if you don't mind, August.
I would love to get into but I do want to go backwards just a second because no one is talking about Jerry Jones.
Yeah.
His son, Stephen Jones, is the CEO.
Yeah.
No one's talking about that. No one's talking about George W. Bush had a father that was in office too.
Yeah.
So I'm just saying, when it looks a certain way, nobody complains about it. And that just makes me frustrated. And, as a father, you don't want nothing but the best for your children.
Exactly.
But I'm just saying, because you talked about Dak Prescott, and when Jerry steps to the side, like everybody talks about, he needs to stop dancing through the videos. he needs to get out of the limelight. I mean, but no one's sitting there talking about that nepotism. So I'm just saying it is important. And when you talked about all the money that was given to not people of color or the people that some of that land was taken from, some of the Native Americans and other people along the way, we never got our 40 acres and a mule, but other people got lots of acres and generational wealth. That's hugely important. And I might have missed this. I did want to say something, and of course, I want to talk about my son, but I definitely want to get in on, and I'm sure you touched on it already, thanking the military. And you always do it, but I'm just going to say we just passed 4th of July. 4th of July is Independence Day. 4th of July celebrates all the people that we have lost and haven't lost along the way in all these things. And my family has been participating in wars going all the way back. And I'm Charleston, I don't know if you know, but I'm Narragansett Indian. Got an ID and everything. And I can tell you that one of the first and major wars, 1675, King Philip's War, a lot of my people died. So I'd like to think that we go all the way back. I have my Uncle Jim that was in World War II. I have my cousin Basil that was over there in the peacekeeping mission with NATO. I got Marty that was in Afghanistan. My sister was in the Air Force. My brother was in the Army. It just goes on and on. Dad in Vietnam. I'm just saying that it's just really interesting that time of the year that a lot of people just think about the celebration. They just think about this is where we're at now. They really don't think, unless it's Memorial Day, that we are celebrating this day because on the heels and the sweat of a lot of people, military and militia, and militia, especially in this area of Massachusetts that I'm in, they had Minutemen that came out and did all kinds of things. So it's just interesting when you sit back and look at that. And I know you always give celebration. I know you always talk about PTSD. I know you always talk about the health benefits and what should happen to people of war in our military. And I just wanted to pay homage because I know you always do, and I
Well, I appreciate you, August, for saying that. I have grandparents that served this country, fought in wars, father military in the Air Force, nephew Marine, and brother in the Army, and so we have fought in every war this country's had as African Americans or descendants of chattel slavery. And I just want to touch on this thing too before we get a little bit more. When it comes to, I love honoring President Abraham Lincoln. People say, man, why you talk so much about reparations? I said, America's 16th president was Abraham Lincoln. He signed the Emancipation Proclamation through executive order, and we were promised 40 acres and a mule. But right around that same time, the Homestead Act started in 1862. It gave white Americans 160 acres of free land. They just had to live on the land. Now that's 4 times what 40 acres was promised. So even with Lincoln trying to do something that was considered, in his thought, egalitarian, they were still giving white Europeans and white men 4 times as much, 160, for never being enslaved, never having to deal with the loss of labor. African Americans could not bequeath life insurance, couldn't bequeath land. The 8th wonder of the world, according to Einstein, is compound interest. Imagine if someone gave your family 160 acres of land. You go to the bank, you're immediately wealthy. You can get you can get a loan on anything. You can sell the land, you can farm the land, you can start a business. So after doing that for nearly 300 years, of course there's going to be a wealth gap. So when people say, I can't believe LeBron helped his son get a job, how do you think white men created this cronyism and nepotism to help their own families? I think it's fair when people do that, and I want to make sure that happens for African Americans as well. Talking to the great August Wesley, President Referee Commission, Vice President Scientific Media Commission, Secretary General Medical Commission. This brother, Secretary General Cape Verde Wrestling Association. August has been on 6 continents, visiting 35 countries for wrestling. And before we get into a few more things about your thoughts on the Olympics coming up, I do want you to take some time to edify your son as well. Anthony, your thoughts.
Charlton, there was one thing I hate to add this in there.
Go right ahead, please do. You know how we talk.
I know. And when you just talked about people that was given land and stuff for free, that kind of made me instantly think of people, not right now what's going on, but not too far back, right before 2020, of a lot of people that we were letting come over, we were letting pass the border, we were bringing in as senior citizens. I knew some personally, and they was able to get Social Security.
Yep.
So it makes me wonder, just like what you said, people that was just on the land, people that just came over from Europe, people that were just recently in the United States, as long as they was there, 9/10 of the law, if it's yours and in your hands, next thing you know, you're being blessed.
Yeah.
There was so many people that came over for maybe there was some war or drama going on, maybe they was coming over for education, maybe they was coming over to flee something, all not American citizens, or they was coming over for better medical or health care, not American citizens, but what? They was getting Social Security, they was getting bank loans, they was getting pulled from a financial standpoint that they didn't put into.
Exactly.
So to me, that is the same thing in a different scale that you were talking about already. And it just frustrates me because I can see people of all colors, let's just say Americans, that might not have perfect credit, that might not have the job security, that might not have the right family name, and they're not able to get some of those things, but we were taking foreigners over and giving them many opportunities. In New York right now, you hear Stephen A. Smith, you hear so many people that are sitting there getting so many more opportunities than the regular residents of New York because they're coming from another country. So to me, that just begs the question of what you're saying. How far have we changed?
Right.
What is the distance we have come? Just saying.
Yeah, no, I agree with you, the great August Wesley, credentialed as a delegate representative for the UWW African Wrestling, and with the Olympics Committee. And I do want to take the time, because I love paying homage to my children. I do it on every program, at the end of my program, because someday when I'm gone, if I can build Big C Sports into what I want it to be with God's favor and the favor of hard work, I want them to realize you can make a living just talking about something. Just be factual. It doesn't mean that everyone has to like it, but I'm on 29 platforms, so somebody likes it, and just do what's in your heart. And that's what I appreciate about you, August. I want to make sure that we're not just talking about touchdown and home run and someone's big, strong, and fast. We know we're going to see that at the Olympics too. But I want to make sure, take a moment or two if you can, before we get into what's going on with the Olympics and your thoughts. Talk a little bit about Anthony, what he's done from a young boy to now a grown man, and he's just continuing to ascend. Your thoughts?
He's working. He's in the grind. He embraces it. I can just say I'm really proud of him, that his work ethic and his steadfast process to continue to move forward.
Yes.
This season has been a roller coaster for him, with him going to the African Championships, wrestling his tail off, placing fourth there, controversially, I might add, but placing fourth there, should have been a bronze medalist.
Yes.
And then for him to go ahead and continue to go to the Olympic qualification, place seventh in there. I'm glad he was able to place, but that's not where his goal was. His goal is always to be in the finals. For him to pick up the pieces from that, and along the way you're getting banged up, you're getting bruised, you're traveling, you're getting nicked, you know what I mean? All these kinds of things that people don't talk about when you're in other countries. It's not just the wrestling mat. It's what are you going to eat? Where are you going to get the food to eat? Are they going to have ice there to help with your injuries? What's going on? So you really got to sit there and think about that when, as an athlete, how that affects you. So for him to pick up those pieces and to continue to go over there to train in Portugal, wrestle in the Portugal Cup, coming away with the gold medal was awesome. And then continuing to go on to Istanbul, Turkey for the final Olympic qualifier. Unfortunately, he sustained an injury, and those kinds of things happen, but it's a little rough, and then to go to the British Championship. So just to see that he was active and mentally tough to continue to do that. He just got resumed his position at Rochester Community College that he had coached before. They've won the conference the last 3 years. They've won the national championship and the national duels. So to have him making time to be back on that staff after he's already served as a coach and recruiter for them, it's just really exciting to see him continuing to go. Not to mention, he's also been a substitute teacher and earned his master's degree. So he's just working.
Well, he's just putting in work, talking to the great August Wesley, also part of the Olympics. If you can, I want to just lead into something. I know you're doing work with I think you said the president of African Olympic. Tell me, you talked about it earlier. His title, the guy that you work with, the president of the African nation?
Mascout, President Mascout. He is the president of Morocco Wrestling Federation, but he also serves as the president and president of the board for Africa. So all the countries in Africa, there's 47 wrestling nations. He is the president of Africa Wrestling and on the United World Wrestling Board. He is a very distinctive man, a very hard worker, and works day and night for the betterment of wrestling around the world.
I want to make sure that you give him my praises from Big C Sports Podcast. Really do love encouraging the participation of our African nations too. We call ourselves African Americans here in the United States. All life began on the African continent, according to Dr. Lee King Gregory Mendel. Irrespective of how history looks at us, all life began from the womb of a black woman, according to science. At the same time, I want to say that wrestling, because we're getting ready for the Olympics, and August, ironically, your name's August, so it's coming up. So wrestling is one of the oldest sports in human history, if not the oldest. Multiple sculptures and cave drawings, and some of which date to about 15,000 years ago. They show wrestlers using various holes that are still used in their present-day sport. And wrestling was a key part of the ancient Olympic Games, where it was first contested in 708 BCE. And then wrestling matches were organized as its own event. And now we look at wrestling when it comes to the Olympics. Of course, we love track and field. We love the boxing, the swimming, the USA basketball team. There's a lot of sports And now, when you look at wrestling, it's the oldest sport out there. Some people may say, well, golf wasn't older than wrestling. The cavemen were wrestling. Give me your thoughts on what it's done for your own personal path. You talked about your son, but your own personal path, what has it done for you? Because now you've gone from wrestling to coaching, and now you're part of committees working with the president of the African nations. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I can tell you a couple of different things. I could just listen to you talk about that all night. But I can say, first of all, that wrestling used to be the culminating event in the Olympics.
Yeah.
So not only does it go way back, it was prestigious to be a wrestler. That's why you see wrestlers wear the cauliflower ear as a badge of honor, and a lot of people don't get it fixed, because when people see that, they respect it because they know it takes a little bit more to be a wrestler. Number two, beach wrestling is being added to the Olympics, the next Olympics, 2028, Los Angeles.
Yes.
And the reason why is because that is a huge push from African nations, because sand wrestling has been, because there's sand everywhere. There's dirt everywhere.
Everywhere,
But there's not wrestling mats everywhere. There's not so many different things everywhere of some of the Olympic events. But wrestling is something you can do on dirt also. So beach wrestling is something that is going to be in there hugely pushed, because of the African nations wanted some of the traditional elements of wrestling, and sand, which already holds a world championships, which already holds Pan Am, European, African, and Asian, and Oceania championships already. So wrestling is definitely growing, so that is huge. So I wanted to say that also.
Yes.
Working with Mascout, I can tell you it's just been an honor, because not only does he have a vision for his own country, and I've been to Morocco.
Yeah.
I have seen the training facility. My son has trained there on several occasions. In El Jadida, which is where the wrestling location, we flew into Casablanca, but that's where the wrestling is in the other city. And I can tell you that his vision for the growth, his vision for supporting all the members to make sure they have what they need to grow, wrestling by itself in Africa, we have more wrestling nations than any other country and than any other continent.
Yes.
With 47. So we are just growing, and it's something not only can you feel good doing, because physically, emotionally, psychologically, but you are given an award of a medal. You are getting better physically.
Yes.
And not only that, you have opportunity to travel and see the world through sport.
Yes.
And I can't emphasize enough how that has been such a motivating factor as an Air Force brat.
Yes.
To see the world through sport, and not Uncle Sam necessarily telling me where to go about my heart. So,
and I got to add to, because you talked about cauliflower. I cover MMA fighting, and often I've never had an explanation. I just got it for the first time in my life with the great August Wesley talking to me about that. Cauliflower ear is where obviously you can see it in a lot of MMA guys. You're saying that's a badge of honor. Your thoughts?
Absolutely. So you get cauliflower ear a lot of ways. Some people just have soft ears. Some people get hit in the ears. If you're MMA, you could get punched. If you're boxing, you can get hit. But you'll notice on combatant sports, judo, MMA, wrestling, taekwondo, boxing, you'll notice a lot of people get the cauliflower ear. And you'll see older men, depending on where you're going, and you'll say, you're a sportsman. And speaking English or not, they know exactly what you're talking about. It is. You're leading with your head. It's like, hey, here I come.
Well, now I got the great explanation. So when it comes talking to the great August Wesley, all over the Olympics coming up in 2024 in Paris, France. So there's two types of wrestling. Modern wrestling consists of two separate disciplines. There's Greco-Roman wrestling, and that's based on the ancient sport, and then freestyle wrestling, which is a more modern format. Can you decipher the two, please? Your thoughts?
Absolutely. So Greco-Roman is all upper body from the hips up. So you're going to see throws, body locks, people attacking the head a whole lot more. You're going to see a lot more of a chess match.
Yes.
in Greco. It's positioning, it's leverage, it's those kinds of things. Freestyle is going to look more like your high school and college.
Yeah.
You'll see guys kind of bouncing around, moving around, attacking the legs, kind of like two cats.
Yes.
Scrambling around and one person getting on top. That's kind of how you see it a little bit more. Some people like freestyle more because of sometimes it seems to have a little bit more action.
Yes.
So I would liken that to a little bit more like checkers.
Yes.
You're seeing a lot of jumping around, whereas when you're playing chess, you're moving here, you're setting up for that. It's a strategy, it's a plot,
yes.
and then someone is pouncing on you. Whereas that likens it more to Greco-Roman, whereas freestyle is just kind of, I don't want to suggest that there's not control. I've wrestled both. I've had success in both.
Right.
But I'm just saying it's a different animal under the same umbrella, as much as if you're looking at swimming and you see somebody doing the backstroke where it looks very controlled and graceful, and then you see freestyle and it looks like they're all over the place. They're boom, 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 down. So I would liken it to that, under the same umbrella, just a different discipline.
Different discipline, like MMA and then boxing, still very competitive, a little bit different discipline. Greco-Roman wrestling has been a blue ribbon Olympic event since the first modern games were held in Athens. I believe 1896, it became a permanent fixture on the Olympic program in 1908, and then freestyle wrestling made its debut a few years later, I believe at St. Louis 1904 games. But no matter what discipline, it takes a lot of discipline to be in the world of wrestling, because it's mano and manos, one-on-one. You don't have like a football or basketball or baseball team.
Nope.
You can't blame it on anyone but yourself. Whether you win or lose, it's always the thrill of victory and the agony of defeat. So I love the way that you explained to me the cauliflower ear and how people get it, and it's actually a badge of honor. Talking to the great August Wesley, and I appreciate so much about you, August, as we've talked many times. I do want to say again that with your credential, and as an African-American man, you've been on 6 continents, visiting 35 countries for wrestling, Secretary General, Cabo Verde Wrestling Association for Africa 4-year term, President Referee Commission, Vice President Scientific Media Commission, and then Secretary General Medical Commission. You have so many accommodations and things that you worked hard to get. No one gave it to you. It wasn't like Al Davis came down and it's like he did for his son, Mark, that owns the Raiders, and said, these are your credentials. It wasn't like the Jerry Jones family, where he makes his son the CEO of the Dallas Cowboys. It wasn't like the Jerry Buss. They gave Jeannie Buss the ownership of the LA Lakers. You have to earn this stuff. Talk about the earning of it that makes you even more proud, and why sometimes it's the earning of it that people take for granted. You have to earn it. No one gave it to you. Your thoughts?
I agree. One, I wanted to talk a little bit more about wrestling, the reason why it's held with so much respect.
Yes.
And it's because of the work that you have to do away from your coach.
Yes.
It's not just listening to your coach bark at you or getting the cauliflower ear or practicing and going home and practicing. You also have to manage your weight. You have to manage your hydration. You have to select a weight class that's going to work for you, either higher or lower.
Yes.
Not to mention that, but your body mass index, you want that to be as strong as you possibly can, as light as you possibly can, in a safe way.
Yes.
So there's some science going on in here also. So I would say the reason why it's so respected, the reason why it's so heralded, the reason why a lot of people do not want to mess with wrestlers is because of everything that you have to do away from your coach, i.e. hitting weights, running, so many things that are not in front of your coach. And that's what makes wrestling special. That's what makes me want to continue to teach and to guide and to mold and to motivate the next generation of wrestlers, because it takes a little bit more to be a wrestler. So I just wanted to say that.
I appreciate August, talking to the great August Wesley. We have 5 minutes. Time flies when I'm talking to you. The great August Wesley, Secretary General, Cabo Verde Wrestling Association for Africa 4-year term, President, Referee Commission, Vice President, Scientific Media Commission, Secretary General, and obviously as a delegate for the UWW African Wrestling. In the next 5 minutes, I want to ask, I love collard greens and I love watermelon and I love salmon. Now, when it comes to eating, if I ate more collard greens, you said I could be a better wrestler. Now, get your thoughts.
Well, I can tell you what, you would definitely thin out. You would definitely, as long as you kept your activity level going.
Yes.
So you could eat some cabbage and you can eat some collard greens and you can eat some jams and you can eat all these things as long as you keep your activities going on.
Yes.
And that's just a shout out to men as we do get older.
Yes.
And if we keep our same eating habits, we need to be mindful
Yes.
of how much effort we're putting out in exercise. And I don't just mean lifting weights.
Yes.
I mean cardiovascularly.
Cardio work, yeah.
I mean with your heart. I mean taking that one-a-day vitamin.
Yes.
I mean stretching. I mean making sure you're going to your medical exams and taking care of yourself, because far too much we have people that look up and they're diabetic.
Yeah.
They look up and there's a blood clot. They look up and they're still eating the same, but now their belly's so big they can't see their feet. They look up, right? I mean, come on, how many friends do we have?
In some cultures, that's considered that you're prosperous when you can't see your feet. Your thoughts?
It is. I can tell you that. But at the same time, people want to see you move.
Yeah.
They want to see you nimble, and
Yeah.
they want to see you healthy more than anything else.
Yes.
But, if we look at sumo wrestlers, those boys are healthy. They're big and huge, but they're also working out, and they can't see their feet for anything. But in the United States, it often means that you're spending too much time supersizing the meal, but then getting a Diet Coke to go get it.
Refrigerator crazy. Think about that. It is commercials back in the day with the Chicago Bears.
Or having 2 or 3 Big C burgers.
Well, the Big C burgers, it does come with exotic meat and there's collard greens instead of lettuce, so that's a healthy alternative. It's a great protein burger. So, take us to the great August Wesley. I know we have the Olympics coming up over in Paris. It's great for the Olympics brings the whole world together, like the World Cup. We call the Super Bowl the World Championship, or we call the NBA World Champions. We call Major League Baseball the World Series. It's not World Series. It's America. The Olympics, with all the countries involved, in the next 3 minutes or so, what does that mean to come from this country, go anywhere in the world, and people lose their divisions? Now they want to be American. Are your thoughts?
Yeah, I want to say, first of all, some of the titles that we call America World Series, Basketball World Champions, NFL World Champions, you got to see that that's coming from a standpoint that America typically thinks they're better than every other country.
Yeah.
So if we have an association, a league, or a conference that shows the best of us, typically they think that, in fact, that will dominate the globe.
Right.
However, there's a reason why we had to have the Redeem Team. There's a reason why we have to go to around the world to get the best competition, because we don't dominate in soccer.
Yeah.
We don't dominate in a lot of sports.
Yeah.
But the fact is, when we had that sprinter recently talk last year, not that recent, but he said the World Championships of what? The United States. That made a lot of people upset and angry, but that was a very honest comment that he made, because if we look, the United States, it ain't always a dream team.
Right.
They got to, you know what I mean? They didn't win the last World Cup, the World Cup of basketball.
Yeah.
They did. Matter of fact, they came in fourth.
Yeah.
Didn't have anything. When they had to get the Redeem Team with Kobe and all these guys, was because of what? We did not get the job done.
Yeah.
So I'm just saying that a lot of times the United States adds something world. You think of baseball. How many baseball players are not American born that are dominating, that are looking to get MVPs? Look at the last draft class of the basketball. Top 5 people, European, not even from the United States.
Yeah.
So if you sit there and look at it, the level of the playing field is definitely leveled, and it is competitive on the global stage. That said, when you go to an Olympics or a World Championships or a Continental Championships, the civic pride that you have representing your people, your land, your language, your favorite food, your country's smell means a whole lot. And I've seen guys cry. I've seen guys shout for joy. But I can tell you what, come August 5th through 11th, when wrestling is going on in the Olympics, it's going to be a beautiful sight.
It's always a beautiful sight. Talking to the great August Wesley, also, as I mentioned, Secretary General, Cape Verde Wrestling Association for Africa, 4-year term, President Referee Commission, Vice President Scientific Media Commission, Secretary General Medical Commission, and August Wesley's credentials will be as a delegate representative of the UWW Africa Wrestling. We only have about 60 seconds. Now, I know in 60 seconds, you could probably run the 400 meters in 60 seconds. I'm going to give you that credibility. So in 60 seconds, what do you want to say as far as what you're doing, how people can follow you, your thoughts on the Olympics? Go right ahead, 60 seconds, sir.
Wow. I want to say, first of all, the country of Cape Verde is doing very good. We have 7 athletes that qualified for the Olympics. We have someone that qualified in judo, 2 in boxing, 2 in swimming, and 1 in track and field. Anthony has been selected as a workout partner with Guinea Basu, so he will take part in the Olympics venue himself. So we are definitely growing in Cape Verde. We are definitely flexing our muscle as a small island nation, taking care of business on the major, huge continent of Africa. Yeah. Also, I want to say blessings out to you, 29 platforms, Apple Podcasts, among other things. You're getting it done regularly, and I just feel more than anything else that it's great that we can talk about so many different things that people are not talking about in every barbershop, selected barbershops, but it's not happening, and it's just great. I can't wait for you to add a call-in feature, because there's sometimes when I'm listening to things you say and I wish I could just call in. So I'm looking forward that to be your next step, to be able to go live, and so someone can call in and interject or support what you're saying.
Well, I appreciate you, the great August Wesley, joining Big C Sports Podcast. I know you're going to have a great time at the Olympics. I appreciate you mentioning the Big C Burger. Make sure they know in Africa they got to call 800-772-8624 to get that. Talking to the great August Wesley, I'm going to take this call, the Big C Pause, also known as the Big C Timeout, and I'll be back in just a moment. August, have a super fantastic day.
Thank you.
All right, I'm back from the Big C Pause. Also, the Big C Timeout. I want to bring August back for about a minute, because time flies when I'm talking to August Wesley. He's going to be dealing with the Olympics, etc., over in Paris. But voting's so important. Sometimes people take it lightly. And I said you could run the 400 meters in 60 seconds. Give me your thoughts on voting in 60 seconds. Take it away, please.
You know, I just wanted to say that I feel strongly that November coming up is a pivotal time. Everyone talks about how important voting is, but this is more than anything else to me. So many people complain about a president. So many people talk about a president approval ratings or what's going on, but they didn't get out there and vote. I think it's part of your civic duty, just like to be a volunteer as a juror, to get out there and vote. That's how you express yourself. You represent your family, your ideals, and what's important to you. And it starts at the community level. Your mayors, your governor, all the way to the president. And that's the general election. You can send in votes. You can do a lot of different things. You don't have to be home in your own area to do it. But I can tell you this, anyone that I talk to and we start talking politics or we talk about how we feel and they didn't vote, to me that is a mute button, because if you didn't do your job and your civic duty to vote for who is in charge, who's leading our country by example or reference, to me you don't have much to say. Get out there, vote, register wherever you are, make your voice heard.
Make your voice heard. We'll end it with that. Make your voice heard. If you don't vote, don't complain. Talking to the great August Wesley. I'm going to take another pause. I'll be back in just a moment. All right, I'm back from the Big C Pause, also known as the Big C Timeout. You can follow Big C Sports 24 hours a day, 7 days a week on 29 podcast applications all over the universe and even on 4 TV applications. Well, that's my story. That's taken with it. Just had a conversation with the great August Wesley, part of the Olympics in 2024 in Paris, France. Really do appreciate having them on. As I always tell you on every Big C Sports podcast, I love paying homage to my beautiful family legacy. On my mother's side, my great-grandparents called Mamo and Pop. Really do appreciate them. Love them with all my heart, mind, body, and soul. And also my grandparents, Madia and Hezekiah, they were seers. They could off the top look at a person and tell you a lot about their past, present, and their future. And I love them with all my heart, mind, body, and soul. I can always depend on my mama, the most beautiful mama in the history of the universe. It started a Head Start program, a food program, and also coaching all boys in Little League baseball team to the championship of the universe. Always saying rise and shine. The best person I ever met in my life. I love my mama with all my heart, mind, body, and soul. On my father's side, my grandparents, Albert and Alberta Curry, they were pastors. They had 3 churches. They also own 2 gas stations in Oakland. They also own 40 acres of land. Back in the day, I was about 8 years old, walking through the hallway about 10 o'clock at night, and I felt someone touch me on my forehead. She said, "What are you doing, young man, going to get some more cookies?" I said, "What are you doing up, Grandma? It's 10 o'clock at night. You normally go to bed at 8:30. She said, "What are you doing, young man, going to get some cookies?" I said, "Cookies and baby crap, what I'm doing, Grandma. I'm going to get my reparations." But a couple of cookies wouldn't hurt. It's been a long wait. Love my grandparents with all my heart, mind, body, and soul. My beautiful father, the former United States Air Force fighter pilot's chief mechanic, always making sure that planes can fly high. So we can all stay safe at night, always saying develop your mind to as high as I stand. Love my dad with all my heart, mind, body, and soul. My beautiful brother Todd, with that bombastic voice, sound like thunder and lightning when Todd would speak. Always saying go forward. A voracious reader. I love Todd with all my heart, mind, body, and soul. He always said go forward. Don't look back because you don't have much backside to look at. I said, I love my backside, Todd. I love Todd with all my heart, mind, body, and soul. My beautiful daughter, Daisy, the most beautiful daughter in the history of the universe. College graduate with 2 degrees with honors in 3.5 years from a major university. Daisy said at the very first interview for Big C Sports Podcast back in the day of Salem Media, it was the first time in the history of the United States that NFL Monday Night Football started broadcasting live on the Wall Street Business Network. It had never happened before until 2 black men in the crew started doing our thing, and then they would normally go to ESPN. They called us the Dream Team, if that makes sense to you. And Daisy, you can be anything you want. Always praise God, Isaiah 54:17, that no weapon formed against you will prosper. You can be anything you want to be. And then my beautiful, handsome son, Malcolm, the most handsome son in the history of the universe. College graduate, erudite, very smart, a good man. Malcolm, you can be anything you want to be. Malcolm actually helped me save trees. I used to always get newspapers and look up stats for Big C Sports Podcast. And one day Malcolm said, "Dad, why don't you just Google it?" And a light bulb went up. I've been Googling ever since. And I'm on 29 podcast platforms, streaming on 4 TV platforms. One day Malcolm said, "Dad, you want to see Big C Sports on TV?" I said, "Sure." He said, "Pick up the remote, aim it at the TV, and say, play Big C Sports. You'll see your show come up." That's before it was even on the air. Now it's streaming on 4 TV platforms, Xfinity, Comcast TV, Apple TV, Roku TV, and Amazon and Fire TV, and even talking about the Olympics. Malcolm, you can be anything you want. I love you with all my heart, mind, body, and soul. And then Big C, with all that wealth of knowledge over the years, like my great-granddaddy coming out of that barn, always saying you gotta believe, you gotta believe, you gotta believe, saying let's get ready to rumble. I love saying welcome to the show. As we nominated Big C Sports Podcast, I have no scripts. I have no 3-way teleprompters. I have no producer in my ear. All I have is this gland in the brain called the pineal gland. The ancients call it the third eye. They say that's how you talk to God. And that's why I'm yelling so loud. God, give me what I asked for. May lightning strike. I love God with all my heart, mind, body, and soul. That's my story. I'm thinking with it. But as I always tell you on every Big C Sports Podcast, I always say, if you're going to drink, don't drive. If you're going to drive, don't drink. Because mothers against drunk drivers are mad, and fathers against drunk drivers are mad. It's one of the easiest things not to do. You can call Uber. You can call Lyft. You can walk it off. You can sleep it off, but don't let someone you love get behind the wheel of a car, start driving. After they've been drinking, the life you save may be your own. That's my story, and I'm sticking with it. As I always tell you, there's never ever an excuse for racism or domestic violence. You need more leader in your life. Leader is an acronym for love is the answer. Anybody hitting you? I only hit you because you make me mad. Pick up the phone, call 911. Anybody kicking you? I only kicked you because you make me mad. Pick up the phone, call 911. If somebody's choking you out, I only choked you because you make me mad. Don't put up with that crap. Pick up the phone, call 911. No man, woman, or child should ever have to deal with that garbage. That's my story. I'm sticking with it. As I always tell you, back my popular man. Back in the day, there's a man known by the name of Drew Boudini Brown. He's known as Muhammad Ali's right-hand man. He would always tell Ali, you float like a butterfly, you sting like a bee. Rumble, young man, rumble. He said, with all you got to use, how can you lose? Ali would say, I'm so pretty, I can't possibly be beat. Every time I listen to Big C Sports, I want to champ of reparations now, reparations forever. That's my story. I'm sticking with it. As I always end every Big C Sports podcast, I want to honor President Abraham Lincoln. And you know it's the right thing to do. For good people, you know, you people, let's champion that old Negro spiritual. Reparations at last! Reparations at last! Thank God Almighty! Reparations at last! That's my story, and I'm sticking with it. I want everyone to have a super, super fantastic day. No matter where you are in the world, give God praise. And thank you for following Big C Sports Podcast. Reparations at last! Reparations at last! Thank God Almighty! Reparations at last!